Welcome to Scandal Water,
where we cover the stories that have captivated the entertainment world.
I'm Candy, a longtime educator and community theater actress.
And I'm Ashley, a writer and co-founder of a local theater group.
We're two friends who share a love of entertainment.
From true crime docuseries, to blockbuster movies, to classic TV, to Broadway shows, and everything in between.
Each week, I share a compelling story related to pop culture.
And I chime in using my trivia junkie brain.
We stick to the facts until it's time to settle into our armchairs at the end.
Then we're simply two women with a strong cup of tea and even stronger opinions.
We're Scandal Water.
And if this sounds like your cup of tea,
follow the show on your favorite podcast app or the Scandal Water Podcast YouTube channel.
Oh, it's that time of day. Tune in and hear what the ladies say. It's time to bend your ear when the silver screen appears. Stories about the stage and screen and everything in between. So come on and join the fun. The curtain opens in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, Ashley.
hello.
Are you ready to record this?
I'm so excited.
You guys, this is actually the very first time that Ashley and I are seeing each other in 2026.
It is.
But of course, we are starting February in terms of this podcast, and it's a new theme.
Yes.
Order in the Court. Yes. And we are starting with such an amazing movie.
It's so good.
So good. 1992's A Few Good Men. And the funny thing is just off mic a second ago, Ashley and I were talking about something that I'm going to bring right back into our recording.
Okay.
I thought it would be fun, Ashley. What is the famous line that Jack Nicholson says in A Few Good Men?
Okay, let me back up. You can't handle the truth.
Yeah,
that one.
Nice. What I'm going to have you do is your same Jack Nicholson impersonation, but instead of you can't handle the truth, you can't handle this episode.
Okay. wait, you gotta lead me into it. Say,
Ashley, are you ready for this episode on A Few Good Men?
You can't handle this episode.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice.
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth. All right. I love it. This is going to be so fun.
All right. Do you want to tell them what inspired this? Can we say what inspired this whole theme this month? I mean, it hasn't happened yet, so I guess we can say it, right?
Oh, go ahead.
I have jury duty. I've never had jury duty before. I've been called to jury duty. And I guess I can say this, like, I know you're not supposed to talk about anything you work on, but we're recording this for anyone who listens on, what is today, January 5th.
Yes.
So I don't even get called until the 29th. This won't air until February. I feel like we're safe.
Right.
But anyway, we just thought, why don't we honor the fact that I'm going to be in a courtroom and do
just
courtroom.
Lean into it.
Lean into it with the greatest courtroom drama ever.
Of
the 90s especially.
Such an amazing film. And for our hook, because you know I always like a hook, I'm going to play this brief little excerpt of an interview that Noah Wiley gave on the
he was in
Rich Eisen show. Yes. And so here you go.
But I was the lone man on that totem pole. That totem pole was Tom Cruise, Demi Moore, Kevin Pollak, Kevin Bacon. He went on down the list. Jack Nicholson. And I was talking about happy to be on the club. I was just there.
So was Nicholson around the set when you were there? Or
we overlapped one day. We didn't have any scenes together, but I watched him work.
You're in the same courtroom together. So.
I remember the table read-through. You know, table read-throughs are this sort of informal gathering where everybody reads the screenplay out loud for the first time.
Right.
And it's really kind of like just throwing it out there. You're not trying. And that was the energy as it began. And as soon as Jack Nicholson began to read his part, he gave the performance that he gave in the movie that day. And as soon as he spoke, it was like everybody at the table went, oh, we're really doing this. And it just went from here to here. And I remember thinking at 20 years old, this is what pro ball feels like. You know, I've been around a little bit, but I hadn't been on an all-star team before, and this is what it felt like, playing with people who will speak in shorthand to each other, know their job so well that they're painting with really fine brushstrokes.
I love that clip.
I do too.
He
said, oh, so we acting.
Yeah. He's like, this is what it's like to be in the pros. I thought he nailed that.
Yeah.
And what a nice way to set up this episode, because that's a lot of what we're talking about. This was such an acclaimed movie. The acting, everything about it was just so professional. So we are going to have a blast talking about A Few Good Men. Although we have to start on a bit of a sad note, because because, as I'm sure everyone knows, this movie was directed by Rob Reiner, who has come up for us several times in previous
Princess Bride.
episodes. That's right. Stand By Me. Several times he's come up. But as everyone is aware, we recently lost him.
Yeah.
Along with his wife, Michelle, both of whom were found tragically murdered in their home on December 14th. And we decided we wanted to take this opportunity to do a brief tribute to Rob, since we were going to be talking about this wonderful film that he made. So just very briefly, we'll talk for a bit about Rob. Now, when he passed, he was 78 and Michelle was 70. And now we don't know a lot. Of course, we're saying that, we're
January 5th.
right.
We don't know a lot.
As at the time of this recording, all we really know is the cause of their death was determined to be multiple sharp force injuries. A knife was ruled as the weapon, and their son, Nick Reiner, who is 32 years old, has been taken into police custody and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. And that's about all we know about that at this time. We want to focus on Rob for a second and his career and his legacy. So just for a few minutes, let's kind of talk about Rob. So his father, of course, was Carl Reiner, probably best known for creating, producing, writing for, and acting in The Dick Van Dyke Show. Yes. I mean, Rob had such an entertainment family because, of course, his dad was huge, but his mom was also in the business. His mom was Estelle, and she was an actress and a singer, so it was in his blood, right? In terms of his own career, a New York Times article that was written at the time of Rob's passing said, quote, Rob became a household name playing Michael Stivic, a.k.a. Meathead, the left-leaning son-in-law on Norman Lear's sitcom All in the Family. The character's altercations with his bigoted father-in-law, Archie Bunker, unpacked contemporary social issues and the generational divide, not always along simple black and white lines.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, was that a show you were familiar with?
I'm familiar with it, but I did not watch it.
Right. Well, Rob was on the show from 1971 to 1978, which was almost the entire run because the show closed in 1979. But during that time, he won 2 Emmy Awards for Best Supporting Actor. And it was also during that time that he learned a lot more about the business because he spent a lot of time in the writer's room. Now, his big goal was to become a director, but he really wanted to learn about all the behind-the-scenes things. And what I saw in an obituary that was written for him, and I think it was the New York Times, it said that he had wanted to direct since he was a teenager, and he actually did direct a very small television project while he was still in the cast of All in the Family.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, but of course his breakout directing role was his directorial debut that he made with This Is Spinal Tap.
Yep.
Have you ever seen it?
I've seen bits of it. I think it's funny when he's like, this one goes to 11. You know, the
the famous
knob.
scene.
He's like, but that's the high, but this one goes to 11. That's what I remember from it. And, in a sad twist of irony, that's also his last film, is the sequel to This Is Spinal Tap.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, again, I've not seen it, but basically it's described as a mockumentary.
It's a mockumentary, yeah.
About a British band that is past its prime. And everywhere, in all the sources, it is listed as a cult classic. Well, in 1987, Rob co-founded the independent production company Castle Rock Entertainment, which multiple sources said was aimed to give filmmakers extraordinary creative freedom, whether their work earned or lost money. So in other words, his goal was, let's focus on the art. Who cares if this is really going to bring in the big bucks?
Yeah.
And let's get the studio oversight out of the way.
Yeah.
I want you guys to be able to really just make good stuff.
Sounds like the heart behind a community theater. You just want to make art. If it makes money, great. But if it doesn't, we're nonprofit, like a nonprofit community theater.
Yeah. Well, to touch briefly on his personal life, Rob was married to Penny Marshall from 1971 to 81, and during their marriage, he adopted Tracy, who
was in A League of Their Own.
Yes, yes. That was the daughter that Penny had with her previous husband. And then, while Rob was making the movie When Harry Met Sally in 1988, the director of photography for that film introduced Rob to Michelle Singer, a New York photographer. The two were married 7 months later in
Wow.
1989. Yeah. And I don't know if you knew this, but their romance actually led him to change the ending of the film.
I did see that, yes, that he was not going to have Harry and Sally get together at the end.
Absolutely
and
not.
meeting her changed his opinion on love.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What a tribute.
Isn't it, though? I love that. Well, the two went on to have 3 children together, Jake, Nick, and Romy. And then, of course, over the course of his career, especially in his early years, Rob directed so many amazing films. I mean, a lot of them very acclaimed. To name just a few, there was The Sure Thing, Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, A Few Good Men, and The American President. And he also continued to occasionally take acting roles throughout his life. I know you know him
I do from Mixed Nuts.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite Christmas movies. And actually, his wife is a very, very tiny cameo as his girlfriend in Mixed Nuts. I think it's her only acting role.
Yeah, I didn't really look that up. A few others that were mentioned in the sources. He apparently had a small role in The Jerk, Throw Mama from the Train, Sleepless in Seattle,
He was in that.
First Wives Club.
He was Tom Hanks's friend. He did his Cary Grant impersonation. He says, "Hello, Diane. Take a look at these swatches." That's his line. I don't know. It's just what I remember.
Yeah. Well, as you've already said, the very last film Rob directed and also acted in before his death was Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. And after his passing, a group of Rob and Michelle's close friends released a statement. Here's an excerpt from that. Quote, absorbing all he had learned from his father Carl and his mentor Norman Lear, Rob Reiner not only was a great comic actor, he became a master storyteller. There is no other director who has his range. From comedy to drama to mockumentary to documentary, he was always at the top of his game. He charmed audiences. They trusted him. They lined up to see his films. Strong and determined, Michelle and Rob Reiner devoted a great deal of their lives for the betterment of our fellow citizens. They were a special force together, dynamic, unselfish, and inspiring. We were their friends, and we will miss them forever. There is a line from one of Rob's favorite films, It's a Wonderful Life. Each man's life touches so many other lives, and when he isn't around, he leaves an awful hole, doesn't he? You have no idea.
Oh, that's so sad.
So again, we are very saddened by the loss of this couple, but Ashley and I are very happy that we can pay tribute to Rob by honoring this film. This film, one of his best works.
I don't remember if we talked about this on a previous podcast. We've had over 200 episodes now, so I don't remember all of our conversations or when they happened, but I feel like we have. It may have been in Carrie Elwes' book where he talked about Rob's method of directing, which is where I learned like, oh, that's what I do. And I'd never heard it put this way, where if I'm directing a play, sometimes I will give, what's it called? Readings, where I tell the actor how to say the line. And that's kind of frowned upon, or it very much is frowned upon, but it's not where I'm trying to tell them how to act. I have this melody in my head of the cadence that I want the line to be delivered in. And it's almost like this whole orchestra that only I can hear. And I saw that in A Few Good Men, Tom Cruise, somewhere I read that Tom Cruise said he would do that. He would say, he would deliver the line, and then he would say, now wait, Rob, how do you want it delivered? And Rob would say, I want it said like this, emphasize this word. And he would say it made sense once you did it that way. So I'd never heard of another director, and it made me feel better to go, okay, it's not so much as being controlling, it's like you hear this melody and it has to be delivered that way. Does that make any kind of sense from an acting standpoint for you?
I mean, I think it kind of still goes back to that idea of the director has the vision and they want you to fulfill their vision.
Yeah.
But I think what you're bringing to it that's new to me is that the analogy to music.
Yes.
You know, the fact that it's kind of this orchestral thing. That's the part that's new to me. Because, I mean, honestly, that's what directors want, right? They have a vision. They do want you to fulfill their vision.
Right.
That's, you know.
And I'm not saying it's with every single line, but there's certain things it's like, no, especially if you've written the project, I know the way that it needs to be delivered because it's part of this greater symphony that if you do it this way, it's going to sound a certain way and that's going to be more pleasing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting, and I liked the way that he directed.
And it made you feel a connection to him.
It did, yeah.
Yeah. Well, switching to the movie, A Few Good Men. So A Few Good Men was released in 1992, rated R. And
for a good reason.
Well, true.
Sorry,
Yes,
guys,
yes.
for a very good reason.
It was produced and distributed by Columbia Pictures and Castle Rock. And an IMDb summary says, a military lawyer intends to prove that 2 U.S. Marines charged with murdering a fellow Marine were only following their base commander's orders.
Right.
Yeah, which pretty much sums it up. But to flesh this out just a little bit more, I thought I would, just as a refresher in case you haven't seen it in a while, really, I think it hones in on this plot line where we have 2 Marines at Guantanamo Bay who are accused of killing a fellow soldier who had caused some trouble within the unit. Mm-hmm. Then we have a cocky naval officer, Daniel Caffey, played by Tom Cruise, who's part of the JAG Corps, who is a lawyer assigned to the case. Now, his intent is to plea bargain.
Right, because that's what he does.
That's what he does, yes, until the passionate Lieutenant Commander Joanne Galloway, played by Demi Moore, another attorney who works in internal affairs, convinces him that there might be more to the story.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a little reminder of what the movie's about. I rewatched it.
Oh, I did too.
Yeah, but I hadn't seen this in years
Oh
upon
my
years
gosh.
upon
I've
years.
seen this so many times.
I got sucked into it so
I
hard.
love it so much.
It's
I
really
love it.
good.
My first exposure to this film, what'd you say? It came out in
92.
92. Okay, so in 1996, it had been out for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I got assigned in English class. We had a mock trial. And I got to be the prosecutor. Let me tell you, I watched this the night before that
This was
trial.
your model.
Oh my gosh, I was so hepped up. We ended up losing the mock trial because my other side of myself is I'm super organized, and I was cleaning out paperwork, and I threw away some of the questionnaires where the guilty party confessed to he did something that could have helped us win the case, and I had thrown it away. And I was like,
that's not
I have
good.
beat myself up for 30 years that I lost this mock trial because the teacher tells us later, yeah, he did it. You know, he tells us if the kid did it. It was this big, complicated thing. Our teacher we'd show up one day at school. He'd be laying there dead. We'd have assigned people.
It sounds so cool.
It was so fun.
I bet I know who the teacher was.
You do know who the teacher was.
I do.
Yeah. We assigned people to. He had policemen set up. Everything was set up.
Yeah.
And he's like, you just don't know when the crime's going to be. And we had to go through this whole mock trial. And I was oh my gosh, my picture was in the newspaper.
So your performance was amazing.
Amazing
but
performance.
You lost
But I lost
the
the
evidence.
case. I lost the evidence because I threw it away.
Okay.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, this movie gets me hepped up. Every time I watch it.
Well, you can't help getting drawn into it.
I love it.
I did see it when it first came out, and a few of my memories are, I remember thinking, Tom Cruise is gorgeous in this.
He's so young.
He was, but I remember seeing it back in 1992. I remember thinking,
he pretty.
I mean, we'd already seen him in Top Gun and some other
Yeah.
things, but I remember it affirmed to me, this is leading man material.
He's got staying
right
power.
here. He's got it all. He really does. And then, of course, I think one of the other impressions is what a star-studded cast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what an amazing cast.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. And just one other impression, I've always been reminded the part which to me is so touching, the salute at the end.
Yeah.
The salute always reminds me of the part in To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes. Stand up, your daddy's passing.
Yes.
Ooh, yes.
And they both get me.
Stand up, Gina
Both
Louise, your
get
daddy's
me.
passing.
Yes.
Yes.
So those were a few of my memories from watching it the first time.
One thing that struck me this time, I just took a class on copyright law. So I was already in the mindset of law. And I feel like if I'd had any kind of smarts, I would have loved to have been a lawyer. I just would have loved it.
That was, I said that for quite some time. That's what I was going to do.
Oh my gosh, I would have loved it.
Then I changed my mind.
Yeah. So that life is not for me. I would have been stressed out all the time.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, because it's not like the movies.
Right.
But anyway, what I thought was interesting, and I was glad that they showed, is that Kevin Bacon and Tom Cruise's characters didn't hold it against each other.
Right.
Sometimes in the lawyer movies, they're thundering away at each other, and it's personal, and we're going to take them down. And it was just their job.
And they were both good at their job. Like,
Very
even
good at
though
their
they
job.
were friends, they were willing to use all the little strategies against each other.
And we go to court, I'm going to take it all the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to do this. And then after it was over, they were back to being like, this is just our job.
Right.
So I was glad it showed that part of it.
I like that too. That's an excellent point. Well, I did not anticipate some of the fascinating things I was going to come across while I was researching this episode.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to share one of them now. When I was looking up how the story came to be, do you know the background of this?
It's a play.
It is, yes, yes. Okay, or here we go. Get ready. You're going to learn some new things too, I hope. The script was written by Aaron Sorkin, right? Famous Aaron Sorkin. But there's a backstory that's so amazing about how he came up with the idea for the plot. So Aaron Sorkin has an older sister named Deborah, and she had recently joined the Navy JAG Corps right after graduating from law school, and she called Aaron one Sunday morning. She told him about a case she was working on that involved a hazing gone wrong at the U.S. military base in Guantanamo Bay, where the accused said they were ordered to do it by a superior and that it involved a code red. So Aaron Sorkin, who was working as a bartender at Broadway's Palace Theater.
Oh, he wasn't even famous yet?
No. He was taken by this idea, and while the show was going on, in fact, they even named, during the first act of La Cage aux Folles, he began writing A Few Good Men on cocktail napkins.
Stop it. They always write on cocktail napkins. I'm getting a whole list for Christmas. For my birthday. For my birthday, Candy, get me a stack of cocktail napkins because I got stuff I need to write.
Right? Well, he went home that night, started typing up what he'd recorded on the napkins on his Mac 512K computer, and continued to work on this until he was finished. All right, I'm already loving this story. It gets better.
What?
Okay, this backstory, right? The sister's case that she was working on. Listen to this. I'm not going to go into detail, but just I'm going to briefly summarize what happened. There was a man, PFC William Alvarado, who was the real-life victim of
the
this
real-life
code.
Santiago?
Right, that was him.
Okay.
So, like the victim in the movie, William Alvarado was very unhappy on base, and he had tried to get a transfer by writing to his congressman. Now, one source said he was also writing to his senator. I don't know about that. Definitely the congressman, okay? But he was complaining about the conditions, and he was trying to get his transfer. And one of the things that he did to try to really, push this through was he offered some information about illegal actions on the part of his fellow Marines, such as firing shots across the fence line into Cuba.
Oh, it's just
so
what's in the
this is
movie.
this is really paralleling what we see.
This is Law and Order ripped from the headlines.
Right. Well, unlike in the movie, there were actually 10 men involved in carrying out the code
Yeah,
red.
you couldn't do that many.
And also, William Alvarado did not die, thankfully.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he was in a coma for some time, but he ultimately recovered.
Good.
Now, 7 of the 10 men charged with assaulting him took the plea deal, which meant that they were discharged with other than honorable discharges. So basically,
Dishonorable discharge, basically.
Thank you. Exactly. But 3 of the men
Said we were following orders. We're not guilty.
We're not taking this plea. They said, give us the court-martial.
Oh.
One of those 3 Marines was a man named David Cox. So at the court-martial, David Cox and the other 2 defendants ultimately were cleared of the charges of murder and conspiracy to commit murder.
The other 7 are like, wait.
I know, can you imagine? But David was found guilty of simple assault. He was sentenced to 30 days in prison.
I wonder if this would have changed if he had died, but keep going.
Well, and that's a really great question. I'm going to guess it certainly would have made a difference, right? But anyway, because he'd already been in the brig longer than 30 days, basically the charge was dismissed as time served. So he and the other 2 men were allowed to return to the Marine Corps, and David went ahead and finished his service in 1989 with an honorable discharge. Now, when A Few Good Men came out, David and some of the other Marines involved in the incident were very upset. I mean, for many reasons. They didn't like that somebody else was telling their story. They didn't like how some of the details were represented. They didn't like that other people were making money from this story. And 5 of the men involved actually hired a lawyer and filed a lawsuit, although they did not win. But in 1994, David Cox's remains were found in a wooded area in Massachusetts.
1994?
1994.
2 years after the movie.
Yes.
Okay.
He was wearing some of his old military-issued clothing, which his family said was odd because he never wore his military clothing anymore. And he had been shot in a way the medical examiner called execution style.
Oh, my goodness.
Once in the back of the head, followed by 3 more shots in his left torso.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, they've never solved that murder. Some people, including, the family members, would even post some of their thoughts, right? But some people believe the murder was related to his military past in some way. But another theory is that it had, something to do with his job at the UPS, because he had been working at the UPS, and just a few months prior to when this happened, to his death, David had reportedly told his brother that he suspected 2 employees were stealing packages.
Oh.
And so some of his family members think that it actually might have had something to do with
UPS and nothing to do with.
Right. Did these employees get angry that he was
But he's
telling
dressed
on
up
them?
in his.
I
That's
don't know.
sketchy.
So, and there are probably other theories out there as well. Those are the 2 that I'm mentioning. But it's never been solved.
That's
to this
wild.
day. I know. So I thought that was fascinating, tragic, but fascinating. And I thought that I would share that. Okay. Moving back into our story, however, of how the movie came to be. As you've said, Aaron Sorkin wrote the play first. It opened in 1989 and was on Broadway later that same year. It was very successful, running until 1991 and leading very quickly to a movie deal. In fact, I didn't corroborate this, but one source said the film rights were sold before the play even opened.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah,
I have a
don't
copy of
either.
the play back there.
Do you?
I do.
I don't think I've ever seen the play version.
I've never seen it. I've read the play. I would love for our theater to produce the play, but that language. We do family friendly stuff.
Little salty.
Real salty. And also hard to cast. There's something like, I don't know, I'm going to guess 27 men and 1 woman.
Yeah.
We have the opposite. Like we have
So many more
although
women than
I
men.
would volunteer as tribute to play Daniel Caffey. Let me just tell you right now.
no.
If I can't be a lawyer, can I be Daniel Caffey?
Such an amazing
Oh,
role.
my goodness.
So good. Well, in terms of the movie, Aaron Sorkin was asked to write the screenplay. And here is an excerpt from one interview where he was commenting on the challenge of deciding how to move the story from stage to screen.
Yeah.
Okay, quote, "A Few Good Men was my first screenplay.
Can't believe it.
I know. I'm nervous with anything that I'm writing, but I was particularly nervous about that. So I kept thinking, how am I going to open it up? After many months banging my head against the wall trying to open it up, I just said,
Get a cocktail napkin. That's what you need.
if
Solve
only,
everything.
if only he'd known."
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. He said, "You know what? I'm not. This thing takes place in a courtroom. This thing takes place in offices. Every once in a while, I can see a scene moving outside. But other than that, I just wrote the story."
Good.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It was amazing. And
So what? It takes place in a courtroom. It's a story about a courtroom.
Right. Yeah. And his apartment. His
Yeah,
apartment in the courtroom.
And walking the daughter outside. Look, Pa, a mailbox.
Well, of course, Aaron Sorkin ended up writing a screenplay that earned a Golden Globe nomination in the category Best Screenplay for a Motion Picture, and it is still widely regarded as being brilliantly written.
It is.
Yeah.
I feel like Tom and Jack Nicholson should have got some Oscar buzz there. I don't think they, of course, Tom has never won one, but it was so good.
It was so good. Well, a fun side note is that Aaron Sorkin had a cameo in the film.
What? Where was he?
Okay. Remember that scene where Tom Cruise is in the bar and you overhear this like braggy lawyer
Is that
talking?
him?
That's him.
Oh,
He's
that's
the braggy
funny.
lawyer. Isn't that
Oh,
cute?
that's funny.
In terms of what the story is about, we've already given the summary, but Rob Reiner actually in one interview talked briefly about the idea of a code red, and I enjoyed it. So I'm going to let you hear Rob Reiner briefly speak about this.
Okay.
Code Red is a kind of unwritten practice that we discovered that actually did exist down in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, where this takes place. I mean, it's based on a real case that happened down there. And Aaron Sorkin's sister, Aaron Sorkin, who's the screenwriter, his sister was a member of the JAG Corps, and she was involved in the case, and that's how we knew about this. But a Code Red basically is an informal practice that Marines perform on other Marines to teach them a lesson, essentially, to rough them up, to get them to get in line, so to speak, and get with the program. As in A Few Good Men, it gets out of hand. They go in to rough him up a little bit, and the guy winds up dead. And that becomes the case. It's an unwritten practice. I mean, it's not in any book you'd find anywhere. And I don't know that it exists now. I mean, it had existed at the time that we made the movie and prior to that, but I don't know that it exists now. And if it does, it's certainly not something that the Marines would readily talk about.
I know that we know that already, but what I liked about Rob's explanation was that, to me, it led nicely into explaining what Rob thought was so compelling about this story, which was, he has said in interviews, it's not just this case. It's not just, does Daniel Caffey win or lose?
Yes.
It's the ethical dilemma.
Yes.
That's what he talks about. This is a movie, and I'm sure, the original play as well. It's about morality and ethical choices.
Yes.
And I can tell you want to say something. So before I keep going, jump in here.
Oh, no. I was just thinking that's part of what I love is how they figure it out. Like when he's got Jessup on the stand and he gets him to say that my men follow orders or people die. And then he says, so why the 2 orders? Well, sometimes men take things into their own hands. No, they don't. You just said. So if he was told not to be touched, then why did they have to do this? Why did he have to be transferred? Excuse me. So they follow orders. They follow orders, and you ordered this.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's part of the beauty of it. This is ethical. And at the end, the one turns to the other and he says, we did nothing wrong.
Right.
And he says, yes, we did. We're supposed to fight for those who can't take care of themselves. We were supposed to fight for Willie. We shouldn't have done this. And we did.
And that's, I think, why we do love this movie so much, is because you get caught up in that idea of what would I do and what is the right thing to do in this situation. Let me go ahead and finish out this little quote from Rob. In an interview he gave to the New York Times right before the film actually came out back in 1992, Rob said the story presented, quote, the same moral dilemma the Nazis dealt with at Nuremberg.
They talk about that in the movie.
Or Calais at My Lai. And it wasn't just about military chains of command either. We're all subordinate to somebody else. We all have to make decisions about what's right and what's wrong. And
what were these 2 soldiers supposed to do?
Right.
They were ordered by a superior officer to do this. The problem was no one else heard the order. He called them in private. Well, actually only the one, because then they discovered the other one didn't even hear it. It was just the older officer, Harold. He was the one that was told. And the other one just did what he said to do.
Right. And to flesh that out even more, Harold lived by a code.
Yes.
And his code told him that what was right was to follow your orders and to do what you're told, because that's what you're supposed to do. Yet, as a human, his code also told him to be empathetic and to take care of the underdog and to care about other humans.
Right, because they pointed out in other questioning that he wouldn't let anybody touch him. But then he's the one that ends up killing him. It's got so many layers.
Oh, it does. And on that note, let's take a break.
Okay. There's not much we love more than spilling the tea with you every Tuesday. So, we've decided to occasionally take a moment to thank a few of our supporters who help make this possible.
Along with the fun, producing a weekly podcast also brings with it more time and expense than you might expect. Your financial generosity in becoming a member through Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon, both of which can be found on our website or social media accounts, allows us to keep creating these episodes.
We'd like to extend our deepest gratitude to one of our current members, Maggie. As a thank you, Maggie and anyone else who becomes a Scandal Water supporter will receive perks like discounts on merch and access to exclusive bonus content such as our minisodes.
If you'd like to hear your name on that roster, become a member using one of the links on social media or on our website, scandalwaterpodcast.com.
Until then, we lift our cup to you, Maggie.
Cheers! And we're back. Well, at the top of the episode, Noah Wiley gave us a nice little preview. He talked about the amazing star power of the cast. And so that will lead us right now into talking about the cast. We're not going to talk about everybody, Ashley. They're just too many.
Amazing.
So if you want to jump in with anybody I miss, you do so.
Sure.
But I'm going to start hitting some of the big ones. All right. So talking about the legal team. Of course, we start with Tom Cruise. He played the lead role of Lieutenant Daniel Caffey. And in an interview Tom gave for the British Film Institute, he spoke briefly about how he came to be part of this project, but also what it was like working with Jack Nicholson. So I'm going to play this little clip from Tom.
Ooh.
That was an extraordinary experience. I remember I was in New York and Rob said, go see the play. I was out of town. I was out of the country at that time, and I went and saw the play, and I called him back and said, great, let's go make the movie. Let's go do it. And that was an extraordinary experience working with Jack. And I remember the Nicholson scene when we were there in the courtroom. suddenly I'm looking around and the rafters were filled, and people, we were making movies in LA at that point, and the rafters are filled and people were coming in just to see this scene. Like the town knew that we were shooting it, and they would come just to see the scene, to see us go at it. And it was magnificent to watch him and see what a wordsmith he is, like a great crooner, to see him carve up the dialogue and make it his own and find his own stillness. And you could see he had his hat. And I was like, look, I'll go first, with this. And he was very generous, an actor's actor. He's off camera the whole time, just feeding me, and very supportive. And he'd be like, that was a good take. Good, Tommy. Nice, Tommy. Always like, pull me aside. And that was a nice one, Tommy. Remember that in the next one. Cheers. And just really, lovely.
I could feel he wanted to do his Nicholson impersonation. He was itching to do it because he does it in the film, too.
And did you know that was a surprise?
What, to do the impersonation?
When he did the impersonation in the film.
That's funny.
Yeah, Demi and Kevin didn't know he was going to do that. So when you see them react, that was
It's in real
legit.
time. That's funny.
Isn't that amazing? But I loved hearing that. It was such a long little clip already. I didn't let it keep going. But he talked about how Jack Nicholson was so intentional, even with the way he was working his hat. Mm-hmm. Like it was just it was like craftsmanship, And so it was so nice to hear him analyzing the film and analyzing the choices that were made by this fellow actor. It was very cool.
This icon of an actor. And I had heard differently, and he kind of confirmed that he gave 100%. Yes. Sometimes an actor, if they're not the one on camera, they'll just kind of say the lines, and then the person acting opposite them that's on camera has to build up the emotion, which they're not giving them. No, he gave him that performance so he'd have something to act off of.
Absolutely.
Which is such a gift.
It is a gift. We're going to come back to that, as a matter of fact, here in a minute. But the other person there were two other people on the legal team, one of whom was the character played by Demi Moore, Lieutenant Commander Joanne Galloway.
I liked her in this.
I liked her too. And one of the things that I thought was interesting was that she was 8 months pregnant, 7 to 8 months pregnant when she auditioned and won the role, which meant that she ended up having a small baby she was caring for through the filming process. And it's funny because in a few interviews, Demi made the comment that she felt like Tom was a little awkward around her because of this situation. But I thought it was nice that she clarified, I'm paraphrasing, but basically she said it was unusual. In the early 90s, you didn't have a lot of the female actresses who were openly bringing their babies to set and breastfeeding and, taking care of kids. And it was just different. Mm-hmm. He wasn't used to it. Mm-hmm. And so she even said, I wish I had been more comfortable with it. Why did she feel so compelled to get through her pregnancy and get her body back so quickly? She talked about, I wish I'd have been a little more comfortable, But she did an amazing job. I thought she was so good. Kevin Pollak played Lieutenant Sam Weinberg,
who had no responsibility here whatsoever.
He was good in that role.
He was very good.
Do you know who was supposed to have that part?
No, who?
Jason Alexander.
Really? That feels like that. Yeah. Okay.
He had it. It was sewn up. But when Seinfeld was renewed by NBC for a second season, which was not actually expected, right? It was a little bit of a surprise. That meant Jason Alexander was no longer available and Kevin got the role.
He was great.
He was really good. Let's move to the defendants. Wolfgang Bodison played Lance Corporal Harold W. Dawson, and there is a fantastic backstory about how he landed his role. Do you know this?
Wasn't he just on the production team or something?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Here's Wolfgang himself telling you.
With the coolest name.
He does have a cool name.
Started at a company called Castle Rock and in the mailroom and kind of worked myself up the production ladder. And then was fortunate enough to become, was hired to be Rob Reiner's set assistant on Misery. So, which was a great opportunity at the time. I got to watch Rob and Barry Sonnenfeld work with, Kathy Bates and James Caan. And so, just taking notes and journals and all that kind of stuff. And when that wrapped, I continued up doing production. I was kind of going into the location manager sort of route. And at the same time, working on my own writing, that kind of stuff. And eventually had a big opportunity to be the location manager on A Few Good Men. I was, doing that job and flying around. And then one day I was at the company at Castle Rock and I bump into Rob and we start talking. And then out of the blue, he said, I know you want to write and direct, but you haven't acted before. I said, no. He says, well, you know the role of Dawson in A Few Good Men. I think you might be a good fit for that. Why don't you just come in and audition and see how it goes? Oh, okay. And I ran off and tried to find these locations again. But I had a moment of smartness and found an acting coach to prepare for the audition. Went in and auditioned and, of course, when I left, I ran back out and tried to find these locations.
So he was the location scout.
With no aspirations to be an actor. And you have Rob Reiner come up to
you should do it. But it's interesting that he didn't just give him the part. He had him audition for it.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
I thought that was a great backstory.
It was.
Yeah. Well, James Marshall played PFC Loudon Downey, the other defendant. And then moving to the prosecutors, we had Kevin Bacon, of course, as Captain Jack Ross. He was lead counsel in the case against the two Marines who were on trial. Kiefer Sutherland played Second Lieutenant Jonathan Kendrick, who actually delivered the Code Red order to the Marines.
Yeah.
J.T. Walsh played Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Markinson, the fellow who spoke up against Colonel Jessup, but then ultimately died by suicide rather than testify at the trial. That was a powerful scene. Oh, my goodness, yeah. And that brings us back to Jack Nicholson, who played Colonel Jessup, the man who actually ordered the Code Red.
Yes.
Jack was paid $5 million for 10 days of work. Although several sources said that he ended up having to do like an extra morning free. They needed a little more from him. Yeah, but I mean, Jack...
They got their money's worth, man.
They did. Jack has spoken several times about how well he was treated. He said everyone was actually pretty deferential to him. And honestly, researching this, you mentioned hearing somebody talk about Jack and his big monologue. That was the number one thing I found. I would be researching, and if I looked up video clips about A Few Good Men, I found Noah Wyle talking about it, Tom Cruise talking about it, Kiefer Sutherland talking. I mean, like, you could find almost every actor in that movie talking about Jack Nicholson's performance that day. It was huge. I mean, the way he handled that made such an impression on all of them.
It sounds theatrical.
Oh, unbelievable. And so you've already previewed it. You talked about the fact that, by the way, this is something that Rob Reiner also spoke about, because we're going to hear from him just a tiny bit in just a second.
Okay.
But in an interview he gave on the Rich Eisen show, Rob Reiner said that he talked to Jack before they filmed his famous monologue, because Rob wanted to give him a choice. He was like, Jack, we're getting ready. We need to film your scene, your scenes, he said, but I'm also going to need reaction shots. What do you prefer? Do you want to do your part first and we film you and then do the reaction shots, or vice versa? And Jack chose to do the reaction shots first. He's like, that'll give me a little time to kind of work through my part. Yeah, warm up, get comfortable with it. So he did the reaction shots first. Now, this means that Jack is off camera.
And he's delivering it thunderously beautifully well.
Right. He doesn't need to do that. He just needs, the lines just need to be there so that the other actors can give reactions.
And stare like this.
So here's what Rob Reiner said about this.
So, I got Tom Cruise cut away, Demi Moore, Kevin Bacon, I got Kevin Pollak. I mean, the judge, the jury. I'm doing all the reaction shots. And every time he's off camera, he gives exactly the same performance that you see that's on camera. After 2 or 3, I go up to him and I said, Jack, maybe you want to save a little, because, I mean, he's full out in every one and he's off camera. And he says, Rob, you don't understand. I love to act. He says, I don't get that much of a chance to do a great part. And then we turned the camera around on him and it was the same.
He's just having a good time.
But also so dedicated to his art.
Yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland once commented in an interview, I don't think any of us realized how hard Jack Nicholson worked to be Jack Nicholson.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. So anyway, love that. One last fun note about Jack before we move on, though. Kevin Pollak tells a fun story about...
He's good at impersonations.
He is. What Kevin Pollak said, though, was that his mom got to be an extra in the courtroom scene.
Kevin Pollak's mom?
Kevin Pollak's mother.
Okay.
Yes, she was in the courtroom scene, and she happened to be positioned right behind Jack, basically. Like, she's very close behind Jack Nicholson.
Before he gets called up. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And so... As Kevin likes to tell the story, Jack came up to him and basically told him to call his mother off. That she was hitting on him. She was distracting him with all the comments and the talking.
She's taking her chance,
And of
man.
course, Jack did it in a funny way.
Yeah.
But basically, it's like, call your mom off. So there were so many other amazing actors in this. We had Christopher Guest playing a doctor
who was
gave
in
some
This is
tests.
Spinal Tap.
Right. We had Cuba Gooding Jr. So many, but we're going to stop there.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds fine.
And that brings us to talking about the response to the film, the success of the film. It was
Immediate and huge.
Yes, absolutely. It was very successful at the box office, but it also received a lot of critical praise. In terms of just the Oscars, it was nominated for 4 of them. Best Picture, Best Actor in a Supporting Role,
Yes.
Jack Nicholson, Best Sound, Best Film Editing. Now, it did not win, but at the same time, 4 nominations. And you kind of alluded to this at the top of the episode as well. Here we are, 34 years later.
Yeah.
If you do a Google search of top courtroom dramas,
It's up there.
this appears like every time. It's in the top 10 of almost every list.
It's so good.
It's so, so good.
Armchair psychologist.
And that brings us to the armchair.
Okay.
I did not do a deep dive on this. I just happened upon a clip from Demi Moore where she was just chatting, and she, in passing, briefly mentions 2 factors that she thought, I mean, she wasn't saying that this is why this film was so successful, but these were 2 factors that she did think were important to the film being successful.
Okay.
So let me play the little clip, and then I'm going to ask you to respond to that, and also, what other reasons do you think we could attribute to the film's success?
Sure.
If you go back and you look at how many actors are in this film, actors who went on to have big careers, what stands out is the incredible material we were working with. Also that Aaron Sorkin and Rob Reiner really stuck to their guns about not making the relationship between Tom's character and my character have a romantic involvement, that they kept it platonic, and it was a fight. Aaron Sorkin shared that he had a conversation with a studio executive whose response to us not having something romantic was, then why was I cast? That's a true story. You can go look it up. Aaron Sorkin quote.
Thoughts?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because this also was another film we were shown in school, and our teacher told us that there was supposed to be a romantic scene that was cut between the 2 of them, and I'm so glad they did that. It's not about that.
Right.
We don't need, it's the same thing as The Fugitive. We don't, sorry to Julianne Moore, and your part got cut down. We don't need this side quest romance. It's not about the 2 of you. It's
Right.
about the case. It's
And
about
the
the
ethical
morality
dilemma.
and the ethical dilemma. I don't care about your personal life in that capacity,
Right.
romantic capacity. We have enough going on where he's in the shadow of his father. He's dealing with that. He's dealing with his own stuff. She's dealing with her own insecurities. We have enough. We don't need that. And if they ended up romantic in the future, I don't care.
Right, that's great, because I
That's
do
great.
like them.
I like them. And
Sure,
they
get together down the road.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't need to see it. It would be out of place. It would be uncomfortable. I don't need it.
I 100% agree with what you're saying and with their decision to make sure that it stayed platonic. Now, I've not read the play version. I know you said you have a copy, but my understanding from the research was that the play ends with him asking her out on a date, and
I
she
don't
says
remember.
something about like, wear your matching socks, which is what she said to him before they went to trial.
Okay.
Which is cute. And
Yeah.
and that's still, there's
Fine.
nothing overt about that. That's nice and cute. But they decided we're not even going there in
Yeah.
the movie, because as you said, it's
not
not
about that.
about them. Why are we going to muddy this up? We have this amazing, meaty dilemma, this question that we want all the focus to be right there. These men live by a code. What's more important, following orders and following what your person in authority says, or living by what you know to be right and wrong based on your own beliefs and values? And that's really what this is about.
And it also would take away from the intellectualness of it. So he's going to do this side quest romance. Is their lives not important? Like, focus on the case.
Right. Yes.
That's my way of thinking. I would not have time for any of that. I would not have time to be thinking about starting a relationship or otherwise with somebody else while this is going on.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. It would have almost been like devaluing the importance of...
And I realize people who do this for a living, you have to have a life.
Right,
I understand that.
right.
In the concept of the movie, we have a very truncated little time. We only have 2 hours. I don't want to spend any time on that part. I want to stay with the case.
Yeah, I absolutely love the quote.
And why was she cast? Because she could be. Because why not? We can't have a lady that can be a good lawyer, sir?
Well, it actually, I think, was worse than that, because I looked it up, and I think the fellow was like, why is the role even female if they're not going to have a romance? And I believe it was Aaron Sorkin or somebody responded and said something like, we have... important female roles in this. The women are not just there to go home with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. But I hope we're in a much better place now. And I am so happy that they made the decision they did. And I feel like this is such an amazing, powerful movie. I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to talk about it. I'm so glad that we had an opportunity to pay tribute to Rob Reiner and his work. And so I think that we end with a cheers to Rob Reiner, as well as the amazing cast that he put in this film.
It was wonderful.
Wonderful.
I got to watch it again now.
Cheers to them.
Cheers.
If you love what we do, please rate and review our show or become a supporter through Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon. Whether a single gift or recurring monthly donation, your support is what allows us to keep the tea brewing.
Subscribe on your favorite podcast app or the Scandal Water Podcast YouTube channel, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Show notes are available at our website, scandalwaterpodcast.com, where you can also access the merch store and more.
This episode was executive produced by Candy Thomas, that's me, and Ashley Raymer Brown,
that's me.
It was researched and written by Candy Thomas and edited by Ashley Raymer Brown.
A special thank you to Josh Martin, who wrote, composed, and performed the Scandal Water theme and other music. Matt C. Adams, who created the artwork, and Joshua Reith, who designed our website and provides ongoing technical support.
As a reminder, this podcast is purely for entertainment purposes. The thoughts and opinions of the hosts during each episode of Scandal Water are their own and do not reflect the opinions of any future guests, advertisers, or clearly professional psychologists. Thanks for listening.